Hey everyone, welcome back to another Beast of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian series review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Chasmosaurus. This was one of my most anticipated figures from Wave 1. Chasmosaurus is a very well-known Ceratopsian, and for some reason we barely have any figures of this dinosaur species, so I was very excited to see Chasmosaurus included in this line. This figure retails for $49.99, and I'll leave a link in the description to Creative Beast Studios if you want to order one of these for yourself. So before we take a closer look at this figure, let's just go over the packaging really quick. It comes in the standard Beast of the Mesozoic style packaging. You have a sleeve with the artwork of the Chasmosaurus on the front, and the sleeve is removable, and then turn the box over to the side. You get the nice Beast of the Mesozoic logo with the silhouette of the Triceratops. Then in the back of the box, you get some facts about Chasmosaurus as well as the same artwork that's on the front. And you also get a nice checklist of all the figures available in Wave 1, and included with all the figures in this line, you get a really nice collector's card of that artwork, which looks absolutely beautiful. And just turning around, you get some facts about Chasmosaurus. So enough about the packaging. Let's take a closer look at this figure. So let's start out with a nice 360-degree view of the Chasmosaurus. Just like most figures in this line, the color scheme is based off real-life animals. This Chasmosaurus is based off the green mantella frog. The main body coloration is this dark brown. You have a little bit of black mixed in there. Then along the whole top of the head and top of the body is this really bright green coloration with this nice brown dry brushing to really bring out all that beautiful scale detail. The back legs have a lot of white on it, but there's a little bit of that green dry brush on there. Same thing with the front legs, and you can see along the neck and front of the head, you have a little bit of sky blue, and I really dig this very vivid coloration on here, and I also love the pattern on the frill. I love that asymmetrical look. It gives it a very unique feel. And let's just take a moment to appreciate the articulation on these figures. You could get some really cool poses if you play around with them. So before we take a closer look at this figure, let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure is 10.5 inches long from tip of the tail to the tip of the beak, and just about 5 inches tall to the top of the frill. The frill is really long on this figure, so depending which way you have the head position, the height will increase or decrease. So Chasmosaurus in real life was just under 16 feet long, so with those measurements, that'll put this figure right on that 1/18 scale range. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at this figure, starting with this gorgeous head sculpt. That is pretty much a perfect Chasmosaurus Bellii head sculpt. I absolutely love it. You can see all this beautiful scale detail all over the face. Even looking at the frill head on, you can see a lot of nice scale variation, and I absolutely love the pattern on this figure. Just like I said earlier, I love that asymmetrical look. You got a little bit of white right here, and you got highlighted by a very dark brown, and then you have some light brown highlighting those white markings, and then the ridges along the side of the frill are painted in a gray color. You can see it has a very straight edge, which is a characteristic of this Chasmosaurus species. You can see the nose horn is pointing slightly forward. It is done in a gray paint with a little bit of dry brushing to bring out those horn details. And you can see the very, very small brow horns are there. The eyes painted that same bright green color with a black pupil. You got a nice light brown stripe going along the snout. You can see some of that really, really nice sky blue mixed in on the face, cheek, and going down a little bit on the neck. The nostril is beautifully sculpted. You get some nice wrinkles around the nostril area, and then inside the mouth, it's always kind of tough for my camera to pick it up. The mouth is painted really well, and you can actually even see some teeth sculpted in the back of the jaw, which is a really nice touch. I mean, the detail on these figures is just absolutely astounding. I gush about it every time I review one of these. And then going down to the main body, you can see a lot of nice, beautiful scale detail. Let me just get my camera to focus in on that. You can see that bright green back pattern with just a little bit of brown dry brushing to bring out all that nice sculpting detail. And then going down to the legs, you can see the legs are mostly white with this dry brushing of that bright green color. You got that dark brown for the midsection, and the hind legs, which goes down to about the almost the end of the tail, highlighted by a darker brown stripe. And then turn the figure over, you get some nice scale variation along the belly of this figure. And yes, they do have a cloaca slit. So yes, these dinosaurs do have their buttholes. And then going down to the front feet, you can see the toe claws are painted with a very, very light gray color. Same thing with the claws on the back feet. So all in all, like I said, on all the figures, the sculpting in detail is fantastic. Like even the back of the frill has a nice pattern on it. You can see all that nice scale detail, dry brush to bring out all that sculpting work. So yeah, I really, really like this figure. So let's just go over articulation. Articulation is pretty much the same if you watch the other reviews on these figures. The mouth can open and close, but you can open it kind of wide, but then the lip comes out past the upper jaw, and it looks like this face is like split in half. So you probably just want to open it up about that far so you don't see that big gap in there. And then for the neck, I mean the back of the head, you can rotate it from side to side. It can look up and it can look down. Let me just zoom out a little bit. And then for the neck joint, you can turn it side to side, up and down. The joint is very tight on here. If you're having a problem with the joints with these figures, either run them in the hot water or use a hair dryer. I've heard some people have been snapping the joints on these figures because they're really tight. So definitely loosen them up a little bit with the hot treatment just so you don't break your figures. And then going down to the front legs, the legs can move forwards and backwards, and they can both swing out a little bit. Then you have a joint at the elbow, which can rotate 360 degrees. Same thing with the front feet. They can rotate, and they can also pivot forwards and backwards. And then going down to the midsection, there is a articulation joint just before the hips. You can turn it and get a little bit of hip movement from side to side. Going down to the back legs can move back pretty far. Actually, they can go pretty much 360 degrees around the body. Same thing at the knee. You can get a little bend at the knee, at the ankle, another bend, and it also rotates. And for the for the back feet, you can get some rotation and pivot motion. And then going down to the tail, you can get some nice side to side and up and down movement. So that is it for articulation. Let's move on to comparisons. All right, first up for comparisons is one of the Mattel Jurassic World figures. Here it is with John Hammond in these 3 3/4 inch figures. Scale really well with these Ceratopsians. And next up is one of the Beasts of Mesozoic raptors. Here it is with the Dromaeosaurus. I normally pull this out on the base, but these raptors are so hard to get repositioned on their bases. These Ceratopsians are much, much more enjoyable to pose around and play with because they are quadrupeds and they are much stable than these raptors. And next up is another Chasmosaurus figure. Here is the PNSO Mini. And like I said, there's not a lot of good Chasmosaurus figures out there. This PNSO Mini is among one of the good ones, so it's nice to see the species getting some love. And next up is the PNSO Spinops. And next up, you can't do an articulated dinosaur figure review without including one of the Rosaurus Carnage Collection figures. Here it is with the Triceratops, and the joints on these old Rosaurus figures absolutely suck. They're very fragile and loose, and they break really, really easy. And next up is the Safari Limited Triceratops. I can't wait for the adult Beast of the Mesozoic Triceratops to come out. That thing is going to be a beast. And next up are some of this Chasmosaurus wave mates. Here it is with the smallest figure currently in the line, the Zuniceratops. And next up is the Dino Riders themed Monoclonius. And I like posing these figures. I like showing off all the fun little poses you can get with them. They are really, really well balanced if you have them rearing up on their hind legs. And last up is one of the larger figures in the wave. Here it is with the Medusaceratops. So final thoughts on this Chasmosaurus. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Chasmosaurus is a really well-known dinosaur, and like I said, we have barely any figures of it, so I am extremely happy how this Beast of the Mesozoic Chasmosaurus came out. I think it's pretty much perfect in my eyes. I know the articulation in the wild paint schemes aren't for everyone, but man, I am absolutely digging this line right now. And like I said at the beginning of the review, this figure retails for $49.99. Link is in the description to Creative Beast Studios if you'd like to pick up one of these, which I do highly recommend. At least get one figure from the line. These figures are an absolute joy to play with. So that would do it for the review. I just had some PNSO Rebore stuff come in today, so I'll be working on reviews of those, and in between I'll finish up this Ceratopsians Wave 1, and there will actually be a Transformers figure review on the channel soon. For those of you that collect Transformers, Transformers Kingdom is just starting to come out, and they are doing Beast Wars, so there's a lot of prehistoric figures in that line. I just got my first prehistoric figure from Kingdom, so I will be attempting my first Transformer review on the channel really soon, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated, and I'll see you guys for the next one.